Hi everyone, I'm Cathy, and this summer I interned at the Margolis Center for Health Policy studying the geographic and socioeconomic disparities in child diarrhea prevalence and treatment access in Nigeria. So to give a little bit of background on the burden of diarrheal disease, I thought it'd be important to go over both the burden and current trends. So on a global level in 2017, diarrheal disease was the leading cause of morbidity and mortality, with 1.7 billion cases of childhood diarrhea every year. Examining beyond mortality, it has long-lasting negative impacts as childhood diarrhea is a major cause behind malnutrition and decreased cognitive function via stunting. So specifically in Nigeria, which is a country classified as high burden for child diarrhea, it's the second leading cause of death in children under 5. And as of 2018, there is actually an increase in child diarrhea, which is an increase from 10% to 13% from 2008 to 2018. And this is particularly interesting to note because if you look at the heat map over here, a lot of the prevalence is heavily concentrated in northern Nigeria. Additionally, percentage of treatment sought in children under the age of 5 actually increased from 42% in 2008 to 65% in 2018, which is great news. But if you also look at the heat map here, you can see that a lot of the coverage of care is heavily concentrated in southern Nigeria. Additionally, in the same 2018 data set, it was shown that overall under 5 child mortality was disproportionately impacts families in lower wealth quintiles. So given these preliminary findings, it's particularly worthwhile to explore and further identify the geographic and socioeconomic disparities in levels and trends of child diarrhea prevalence and care, which was the objective of my research project this summer. So for this research project, we used the Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey to generate state-level estimates of prevalence and care from 2008, 2013, and 2018 datasets. To evaluate the state-level performances, levels, which was prevalence/care seeking in 2018, trends, which was 2008 to 2018 rate of change, and equity, which was non-poor to poor ratio, was measured. So next, when generating the estimates, definitions of terms such as prevalence of child diarrhea and treatment/advice sought were taken directly from the Demographic Health Survey indicator definitions. So examining the results, you can see that there was findings for both geographic and socioeconomic disparities. So for geographic disparities, there was an overall more prevalence, less access to care in North Nigeria than South Nigeria, though the distribution was more even in terms of access to care. Specifically, prevalence was highest in Northeast, Northwest Nigeria, and care access was highest in Southeast. So for socioeconomic disparities, in the majority of states, poor populations had higher prevalence and less care than non-poor populations. So to go more specifically into the results, states that exhibited better performance were states that had lower prevalence of diarrheal disease and higher access to care. And states with greater disparities had a higher magnitude of the ratio from non-poor to poor. So as you can see in some interesting points, Ogun State, which is located in Southwest Nigeria, is overall a very high performing state in terms of both prevalence and care. This was interesting to note because Ogun State actually exhibited the greatest socioeconomic disparities, with poorer populations having more prevalence and less care. So a state that also performed relatively well in terms of care and prevalence and also exhibited greater socioeconomic disparities was actually Abia State, which performed well in terms of prevalence and also exhibited greater socioeconomic disparities between non-poor and poor. A state that performed relatively well in terms of care access and prevalence and also exhibited smaller socioeconomic disparities was Zamfara State, which is located in Northwest Nigeria. And this was interesting because this kind of goes against the general trends of North Nigeria performing well. So Bauchi State was also located in the Northeast and was actually one of the lowest performing states with high prevalence and also greater disparities between non-poor and poor. So another conclusion to be drawn actually is that while a state may be performing well in terms of access and prevalence, the performance may not be equitable, as shown in the case of Abia State. So lastly, so in terms of potential causes of disparities, the poverty rates are greater in North Nigeria than South Nigeria. So this can explain for why North Nigeria exhibited the most amount of prevalence and less care. There's also potential barriers in sample sizes in a lot of these populations. So this can explain why states such as Borno State or Zamfara State, which are located in the north, performed very well in terms of prevalence and care. And it just may not be representative of the state in general. But this can also be further explored. In addition, in terms of the geopolitical context, northern Nigeria actually experiences a lot of political conflict, specifically by this terrorist group called Boko Haram. And in 2017, 75% of water and sanitation infrastructure was actually damaged or destroyed in northeast Nigeria. So this could also explain for the high prevalence and low access to care trend in North Nigeria over South Nigeria. So in terms of research and policy implications, because we identified certain high-performing states, for instance, Zamfara state was particularly high-performing and Enugu state was very high-performing, we can see that it's feasible for the low-performing states. For example, there's Bauchi state. We can see that these low-performing states can eventually reach the level of high-performing states with the proper interventions. And this can be done through education programs for policymakers to teach underperforming states the programs that worked well in the high-performing states. Or this can also consist of targeting specific determinants of health, such as community healthcare access or water and sanitation or food insecurity. So overall, we can see that this project shows that there are high-performing states and low-performing states can eventually reach these levels. So thank you for listening to this presentation, and I listed the references and acknowledgements below.